via Zoom here in a minute. That will have a quorum if you'd like to proceed.
One second.
Good afternoon. Let me know when you want me to get started.
Yeah, give us a second.
Of course.
Okay, let's go live.
Go ahead, Nan. You're on.
Okay, good afternoon. You're tuning into the Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Thursday, March 10th, 2022. It is 1:01 p.m. This is a virtual meeting. For public attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. We're joined by calling 360-252-9020, pin number 1234. I'm Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. I'm joined by Vice Chair Ty Menser. Commissioner Gary Edwards will be joining us here shortly. We're also joined today by Auditor Mary Hall and many of her staff members, and County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. Today we will be discussing a redistricting plan. And with that, I'll hand it off to Auditor Hall.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Mejia. Every 10 years, we're required to redistrict based on the state's new maps. They adjust the legislative and congressional districts based on the decennial census numbers. So what we're here today for is to show you an overview of how Thurston County has been affected by the state redistricting. I want to just make a point that there are no changes to any commissioner districts. However, we will need to modify the legal descriptions because the commissioner district legal descriptions are based on precincts. So we'll be coming to you with that later. So staff has prepared a presentation that we'll go through and give you a 20,000-foot view of what it looks like now based on the redistricting. So if Lynn could share her screen, that would be great. All right. So what we're going to show you is our precinct maintenance plan. This is the overview. We'll need to schedule a public hearing to adopt the new precincts once they're final. And we do need to have that soon because our precincts, in order for us to move the voters, we really need to have those final in end of March, early April. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lynn just to give you a quick overview.
Before you start, just for the record, Commissioner Edwards has joined the conversation.
All right. Welcome, Commissioner Edwards. Okay, Lynn.
Welcome.
You're on.
Hi. So I'm Lynn Watanabe, the lead elections technician. So to give you an overview, Thurston County currently has 285 voting precincts. In accordance with RCW, no changes may be made starting 14 days prior to filing week, and no precinct may exceed 1,500 active registered voters. Also in accordance with RCW, every voting precinct must be wholly within a single congressional district, a single legislative district, a single district of a county legislative authority, and if applicable, a single city. Every voting precinct must be composed as nearly as practicable of contiguous and compact areas. And again, there are no changes to county commissioner district boundaries that were approved in 2021.
So this next slide, I want to comment a little bit. I believe I mentioned to you at our elected officials meeting that staff reached out to the Redistricting Commission to offer suggestions of how to better draw the boundaries in Thurston County. So the yellow lines is how we receive this data from the state. And I think the middle top slide really tells a story of that's probably not the best precinct boundary. So staff was able to make suggestions, provided very clear data and suggestions of how to move the lines. So now the lines in purple were adopted by the Redistricting Commission. So staff did an amazing job. We gave them many, many examples of where they followed census tract blocks, and it might be better to follow a road or a visible boundary. So I just want to give a huge shout out to staff for their work on that. That's a difficult process, and you really have to pay attention to the maps when they come out and get down at the 1,000-foot level. So they did an amazing job. So this map gives you an overview. The 10th Congressional District and the 3rd Congressional District boundaries have changed quite a bit. A lot of the 3rd is now in Thurston County. And prior to redistricting, we had 4 legislative districts in Thurston County. Now we have 5. The 19th takes in Capitol Forest and a little bit of more of populated Thurston County. So Lynn's going to take it from here. We're not going to go into all the numbers. We've got a lot of slides, and you're welcome to ask questions at any time throughout this presentation.
So I will just kind of hit on some of the major numbers, how many were affected. So in overview, there's 7 areas that we're adjusting due to City of Lacey annexations, the new congressional and or legislative district lines, and a precinct over 1,500 active registered voters. Approximate voters affected, 7,230, actually should be 9, So the first area we'll look at is the City of Lacey that had 3 annexations. It's Silicon Marvin Road, Capital City, Chambers Estates, and Mosier, and then also some adjustments due to new legislative district lines. So the first area is the Silicon Marvin. The area outlined in orange is the area that was annexed. There is a legend in the corners of these slides. So the purple line is the legislative district line. The green line, which is not shown here, is going to be the congressional district line. Red lines are precinct lines, and orange lines are the annexed areas or proposed moves. Are there any questions so far?
Can I stop you?
Going too fast? Sure.
Could you go back a slide?
Yeah.
So what is the solid green representing? You're talking about City of Lacey, but I don't understand the green.
Oh, so this just gives you an overview of the county, and the green are the precincts that are affected by the changes. And so we have, let me go back one more slide. And so these bubbles are just kind of indicated where in the county we're going to be looking at, just to kind of give a frame of reference.
Okay, so the next slide that says City of Lacey annexations doesn't really correspond to the map. There's no connection between Lacey annexations and that map.
There is, this up here is the Silicon Marvin annexation. Down here is the Chambers Estates, Capital City, and the Mosier annexation. So it's kind of in the middle because it's 2 areas up here and down here.
Okay.
So for this area, the approximate voters annexed is 648, and the approximate voters affected that we're going to be moving is about 1,439. So on the next slide here, so Lacey 42 got split by the ledge district line. So what we're proposing is the area east of Marvin Road that was annexed. So this area in here, create a new City of Lacey precinct, Lacey 56. The area west of Marvin Road, combine it, the annexed area, combine it with Lacey 42 to create a new City of Lacey precinct, Lacey number 58. And then the leftovers, so the unincorporated areas of Trailblazer here in yellow and Hawks Ridge here in white. And then part of Lydia Hawk reformed this into Trailblazer. So this is what the end result would look like, with 2 new City of Lacey precincts and Trailblazer reformed and Lydia Hawk reformed. Any questions? All right, the next area is the Capital City Chambers Estates annexation. So the entire Freedom Precinct was annexed. And so that will become Lacey 32, City of Lacey Precinct, Lacey 32. I'm sorry, let me go back. That will become new City of Lacey number 57. Lacey 32, which is already existing, gets split by the ledge district line. So we're proposing moving that annexed area into the newly created Lacey 57 precinct. Approximate voters affected, 898. So this is what the newly created Lacey 57 precinct would look like, and then Lacey 32. Questions? The next area is the Mosier annexation, which was 1 parcel. So the proposal is to move the 1 parcel into Lacey number 27. Pattison also gets split by a ledge district line. So our proposal is to split Pattison east and west at the ledge district line. Pattison will be reformed from the area west of the ledge district line and renamed as Pattison West, retaining the precinct number of 178, and then create a new precinct in the east called Pattison East, which would be precinct 23. And so that's what the end result would look like. Sorry, I forgot to give you how many. For this annexation, there were the annexation. There were 0 voters affected, and then for the new Pattison East, 518 voters would move into a new precinct. Okay, any questions on that one? The next area is Kenwood, which is in the Lacey area. The ledge district line splits Kenwood. So we propose to split Kenwood east and west at the ledge district line, reforming Kenwood from the areas west of the ledge district line, which is using the must be composed as nearly as practicable of contiguous and compact areas, because the precincts next to it are all City of Lacey areas. So the area west would retain the precinct number of 113 and be renamed Kenwood West. And then we would create a new precinct, Kenwood East, from the area east of the line, which would be precinct 24. So then the voters that would be affected would be 531, these voters in the new precinct. Any questions? The next area we're going to look at is the Eaton Creek precinct. The legislative district line splits the precinct, and approximately 292 voters are going to be affected. So we propose splitting Eaton Creek north and south at the ledge district line. Eaton Creek will be reformed from the area south of the line and renamed as Eaton Creek South, retaining the precinct number. And then we would create a new Eaton Creek North precinct with a new precinct number from the area north of the line. Questions on that one? Okay, so now the Southeast County. Congressional and legislative district lines split 5 precincts. There's also going to be 1 boundary adjustment, and about 885 voters are affected. This has multiple pieces, so let me know if I need to go back. So for this first area, there's 2 parcels here that need to be in the City of Rainier precinct. There's really 0 voters affected in that one. And then the ledge district line cuts Weir Prairie into 2 pieces. And those 2 pieces we propose moving into the Deschutes precinct up above. Approximate voters affected in there are 350. Again, the purple lines is the ledge district. So that's what the new precinct lines would look like. So this green line is our first congressional district adjustment. Congressional district splits Deschutes. And so we propose moving the areas in Congressional District 3 into Longmire. And then the portion of Longmire that's in Congressional District 3, move it into Four Corners. Approximate voters affected, 148. All right. And on here, you'll see I'll have temporary and final, and it's just because we touched the precincts more than once. All right, so just south of that area, Smith Prairie gets split by the ledge district boundary. So that area would move into Morris. And the ledge district line splits Four Corners here. And so Four Corners would be reformed from the area north of the ledge district line, retaining the precinct number 179. And we create a new precinct, Four Corners South, precinct 19, from the area south of the line. Approximate voters affected, 387. Questions? All right. City of Tenino, we had an adjustment due to a congressional district line. Approximate voters affected, 5. So up above, there's a couple parcels in here due to the ledge district line and the city boundaries. This area would need to be moved into Tenino 1. And then there's a couple parcels down here that also need to be moved into the city limits from Vail. And again, 5 voters, about 5 voters that are going to be affected. All right, questions? All right, the next area is the Southwest County. Congressional and legislative district lines split 9 precincts. Again, this has a lot of movement. So in here, the legislative district line splits Rochester 1 and Rochester 2 in the east, and we propose moving those 2 sections into Michigan Hill. The ledge district line also splits Rochester 2. Oh, excuse me, this is the west. The ledge district line also splits Rochester 2 on the east, and we propose moving that area into James down below. Approximate voters affected, 284. Questions? All right, this next area, the congressional district line splits Hennis North. So moving that section into Rochester 3. The ledge district line splits Hennis South, and so moving that area also into Rochester 3. The ledge district line splits Rochester 3 and Grand Mound over here down I-5. So the 2 sections that are cut off from Rochester 3 and Grand Mound, propose making that a new precinct called Grand Mound West, and reforming Grand Mound here on the east, on the west, excuse me. No, this is the east. Right, so these are the new precinct lines for those. Questions? All right, so the next area, we have a couple of different things. The congressional district line splits Violet Prairie. The legislative district line also splits Violet Prairie into basically 3 sections. So the area split off by the congressional district line and the ledge district line, we propose creating a new precinct called Violet Prairie South. The area split off by the congressional and ledge district lines on the west, merging that with Hennis South. And so Violet Prairie would be reformed from the area above and called Violet Prairie North.
So real quick, you have,
Yes.
on one map, you have Grand Mound West and Grand Mound, but on this one, you have Grand Mound East. Is it gonna be Grand Mound East or just Grand Mound?
It will be Grand Mound East. Yeah. And the approximate voters affected for this area is 625. Any other questions on this one?
I do. I'm sorry.
Yes,
It took me a
that's
little
okay.
bit to unmute. So we're losing Grand Mountain West on this one.
So I'm just going to go back. So Grand Mound is getting cut a couple of times. So the area on the west, where it's cut by the ledge line, it's going to be, this area is going to be reformed into Grand Mound West, and this area will eventually be Grand Mound East. So sorry about the confusion about
Okay.
relabeling that one.
Thank you.
Yes. Good question. We have more. All right. Okay, so Grand Mound, as a whole precinct before, we did some of the other cuts. James is cut by a ledge district line here. And so we're proposing moving this area into what was Grand Mound and will now be Grand Mound East. So approximate voters in here is 46. So after everything's said and done, this area is going to be Grand Mound East. This area up here will be Grand Mound West. And then James will look like this afterwards. Questions? All right, the next area is the Northwest County. Legislative district splits one precinct. So approximate voters affected here is 0. The ledge district line follows power lines, and it affects about 2 parcels near Black Lake Boulevard. So we would just move this area from Camelot in the other ledge district into Plainview. And so it's just a slight boundary change. Questions? All right, last area is the city of Tumwater. We have 1 precinct, over 1,500 active registered voters, and 1 city boundary adjustment. So Tumwater 5 has over 1,500 voters. And so we propose cutting it down Tumwater Boulevard and Center Street. Tumwater number 5 would be reformed from the area southeast, and the area north and west would be combined with Tumwater 30. Approximate voters affected, 661. Tumwater 30 only has about 5 voters currently. Any questions? And the last one is a city boundary update. This 1 parcel should actually be in the city limits. So moving that parcel from Simmons 4 into Tumwater 3. Approximate voters affected, 2. All right, questions on that one? All right, so here are the proposed results. Proposed 2022 precinct count, 292. Approximate voters affected, 7,239, which is about 3.71% of our registered voters. We would add 9 voting precincts, and therefore adding 9 legal descriptions. We'd repeal 2 precincts and repeal 2 legal descriptions, and 6 precincts have name changes. Questions on that slide?
I do have a question.
Yes.
This is just not necessarily related to the proposed changes, but I'm just being curious as to who comes up with the names for the precincts. Some they have actually proper names, and then if you go now to Tumwater 3, for instance, the actual precinct is 403. So is there a rhyme and reason as to how we name the precincts? Just curious.
Yes, so the precincts that are in city limits, we try to name them Lacey, like so if it's City of Lacey, Lacey number 1, 2, 3, etc. City of Olympia, same thing. So all precincts, 200 are City of Olympia precincts. All precincts 300 are City of Lacey. Precincts 400 are City of Tumwater. Precincts 500 is Tenino. 600 is Rainier, and 700 is Yelm, and 800 is Bucota. And then the county precincts are usually based on something that's in that area. The Grand Mound has the Grand Mound. And then when we split it, we just kind of name it East and West to avoid, coming up with an entirely different name.
Yep, for instance, then we have Simmons. And they not necessarily relates to Camelot, Plainview. I'm just curious.
Mine is Broadway, and I've always wondered how mine precinct got named Broadway.
So these are legacy names that have probably been around for several decades and redistricting cycles.
Got it.
We do have experience with trying to change a name, and we had a person in that precinct who came before the board and made it was a big deal to this person. So since that time, we've just leave them alone. But so there is really no rhyme or reason. I have no idea who came up with these names, but they've been around for decades.
County ones have names, right? The city ones
Correct.
don't have names. Only numbers
Correct.
for cities, but the counties all have a unique name.
Proper names, okay. Thank you.
So precinct boundary adjustments, there's 37, and then we're going to be amending 34 legal descriptions. And then we are going to update all 3 Commissioner District legals. So we're going to amend Commissioner District 1 to reflect 3 added precincts and 1 repealed precinct. Amend Commissioner District 2 to reflect 4 added precincts and 1 repealed precinct. And amend Commissioner District 3 to reflect 2 added precincts. Again, no boundary changes and no voter total changes. And that's the end. Do you guys have any more questions?
Thank you. Lynn, can you put down the PowerPoint so I can see the screen, please? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Menser?
Brilliant work, team. Looks really good. You guys have to do that, not me. It's complicated.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, I'm good, thanks.
And I don't have questions either. I mean, it boggles my mind. It really does, but it's down to science. You have it down really to a cue how you do this. Questions, comments, county manager, assistant county manager?
Just to next steps, if you can outline the next steps. I assume the board needs to take an action on this, is that correct?
So we will come to you requesting that you set a public hearing. Lynn, do you have any timeline for that? You know, when that, we're going to do that?
I can talk to that, Mary, if you'd like me to.
Okay, sure, Tilly.
Hi. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tilly Polar Elections. Currently, right now, we are scheduling to go to the board, in front of the board on March 22nd to set our public hearing. Our public hearing will then be set for April 12th at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you. And soon after that, the board may take an action on that, right?
Correct.
Yep, thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, so I just want to commend staff. They did a fantastic job. This is one huge puzzle. And once you make all of those adjustments, you have to move all of the people into the correct precincts and do all of your,
Yeah.
quality control work. And all of that happens on top of their normal duties and an election. So if you wonder why staff or the auditor's office needs district boundaries and why the legislature changed it to January 1, this is why. Because there are a lot of things that you have to consider and move, and there are a lot of rules that you have to follow. So not only population or registered voter total rules, but the rules of being contained wholly within a congressional, legislative, city, or county council district. So staff did an amazing job. I'm very, very proud of each and every one of them. So
Good job.
Thank you. Okay, if there are not any additional comments or questions, we will adjourn. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
rest
you.
of the day.
Too.